right. And let me check.
Bei uns haben es da mit dem Presslufthammer im Haus gearbeitet, aber Sie haben mir garantiert, dass Sie jetzt fertig sind.
All right, we're live. Yep, there we are. Okay, well, I would say we probably wait a couple of 1 or 2 or 3 minutes before we actually dive into the different topics to give people some time to get into the conversation. I can see we have already the first people joining in on YouTube and also on Twitter. That's very good. And we also have the chat here. Merlin's Chronicles, yep. Welcome. Oh wait, actually I can reply on different platforms. That's cool. Yeah, I gotta say, I think we kind of getting used to this platform here. It's really good. It's much better, I think, than the way that we did it before, only on Discord, because now we can actually stream on the different platforms. We're live on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and also on Twitter or X, however you want to call it. So that is actually perfect. Let me briefly check on LinkedIn, because I don't see LinkedIn in the feed yet. And then I would say we can have a start in a couple of seconds to not let everybody wait for too long. Are we live? It should work, I think, if I'm not wrong. Yep, it works as well on LinkedIn. That's perfect. Okay, I can see we now have around 25 people in. That's already great. And I would say we can actually more or less get started right away. For everybody joining us for the first time, welcome to the monthly recap and AMA session. For everybody joining us for not the first time, welcome back. It's great to see the adoption of this format, and also to see some familiar faces. I can see already some people chatting or replying on the different channels that we had in here the last time. It's really nice. We have now the 5th setup of this session actually, and it's really, I think, providing some benefits, hopefully also for you guys, because we kind of felt the need to communicate more frequently and also to show you some faces around, like behind onocoy, right, behind the scenes, and not only to post anonymously from an account or something, or hide behind some profile picture. So you can see our, well, more or less beautiful faces in here. And yeah, before we actually dive in, we can maybe give a short introduction on who actually these beautiful faces are. And maybe Daniel, you can start right away, and yeah, maybe give us a little bit of background on who you actually are.
Sure, Daniel Ammann. I'm the initiator of the onocoy project. Started with this probably something like 3 years ago. I'm not necessarily a Web3 guy, although I've been in that now for 3 years, so some people consider this to be a long time. But I'm a GNSS guy, so in 1997 I started my first startup here in Zurich, Switzerland, where we would do semiconductors, so actual electronics, for GPS, mostly for industrial applications, for automotive applications. That company was a big success. We IPO'd in 2007. We reached unicorn status in 2016. So I'm coming from the satellite navigation industry and always been there. Also together with Tommy, we built that market-leading position.
Yeah, right. So you guys have been working together before already, right?
We have, yes. We have, I don't know, what, 25 years of professional life together.
Okay.
Actually 25 years and 7 days now. I know exactly, because it was the first May of 2000 when I started at uBlocks, the company Daniel invented. And so, yeah, and it was a special day because these special distortions disappeared on that day. Everybody was super nervous in the office when I came. But as I figured out later, it wasn't because of me. It was because of GPS improved. But it didn't improve enough. That's why we're discussing it today.
Well, okay. Yeah, well, maybe then, Tommy, you can directly say a bit more about yourself as well.
Yeah, I'm Thomas Nick, or Tommy, 25 years in the satellite navigation industry as well, mostly at uBlocks, afterwards with as a consultant. I did various roles at uBlocks and was responsible for marketing, product strategy for all the GNSS products at uBlocks until 2020. Worked then with Daniel, also as consultant, and stumbled then into Web3 also a good 3 years ago. So consider this as a old guy. I would actually still consider myself as a learner in this, but it's been a fascinating journey. Yes, and I'm more on the marketing, operational side of onocoy, not on the technical side.
Okay, perfect. Well, then let me give a few words about myself as well, although I'm more on the moderator side. Actually, today I have something to say about things that we adjusted myself, which is unusual. Usually I only just moderate and ask the questions. Now I'm actually being challenged to talk myself as well. Well, yeah, my name is Dominic, or I go under the handle VLVT, which is Velvet. That's, I don't know, I was listening to a lot of Velvet Underground when I had to decide for a username, so I don't know, that's kind of the reason. There's no more backstory on that. I probably spent most of my time in the last couple of years in crypto, or not probably, I did spent a lot of time in various sub niches and sectors, and specifically in 2023, I really got heavily involved in the Deepin ecosystem with supporting a variety of projects, mostly on their communications, community, and marketing. And I was happy to meet the guys from onocoy as well, and have been supporting them since quite a while actually by now. And I support them mostly on their marketing and community related activities. And I also have the pleasure of hosting these AMA sessions, and soon some other formats as well, which we'll be talking about later on. But before we actually go into the depths and the topics that we want to discuss today, just one small remark for everybody listening in. Daniel will have to leave us in 23 minutes latest, so his time is a bit limited. He's a man of many meetings and many things that he has to take care of. So we would start today actually with Daniel's topics. And Daniel is taking over more on the development or product side of things. And we have, I think, quite a few talking points today, actually. So Daniel, I would say you can start right away. Wait, sorry, let me interrupt myself and you. The session is a format with monthly recap and AMA, right? So for everybody tuning in for the first time, the logic that we do it is that we initially start with like some topic areas, and we basically talk about some things that developed or that have been taking place in the last couple of weeks, so in the last month specifically. And it's also an AMA. So what you guys can do, and please feel free to do on whichever platform you are, just ask your questions in the chat, right? And the logic that we do it is that either if it fits at that point in time, we try to answer the question directly, or if it doesn't fit at that point in time, we try to answer the question at a later stage. So feel free to drop your questions at any time, and we try to cover all of your questions. So yeah, that you guys are satisfied. And now over to you, Daniel. What developments from product and tech did you bring for us today?
Yeah, before that, I just want to answer the first questions, which I see in the chat. We want Lucy. Well, Lucy's on holiday this week, but I'm pretty sure we're going to bring her back into this format. Yeah. So yes, I mean, besides my work more as the strategist or the thought leader behind onocoy, I'm also pretty much technical. And I'm jumping in here also for Paolo, who had previously also shown a few of the new features. And I just want to make some highlights on what we recently introduced. And let me start by sharing my screen.
Yeah.
Hopefully that works. You should be seeing my screen now.
Wait a second. I think, yeah, now your screen should be visible to everybody.
All right. Just a few highlights. So one thing which we rolled out actually earlier today, so it's brand new, not many of you have discovered it yet, is what we call the opportunity map. So starting on this, the main view that we have, we introduced the cluster map, which gives you these dots where you can zoom into the individual stations. And as of today, we now have the opportunity map. And this looks a little bit like this. And to explain what we're looking at, this is a map which visualizes the rewards or the percentage rewards you can get as a function of our location scale method. Just to briefly recap, we are incentivizing you guys who operate stations up to 3 stations in a certain area. And if there's more than 3, the rewards will be toned down through some formula that is also in the white paper. We had introduced this one here, this marker that you can drop anywhere on the map. And you would then see on that side how much would you earn if you would be putting a station at this exact location. So this would be 100%. Now this new overlay here is visualizing that reward marker on the map. And the color coding is such that, and if I remove the marker, we see the legend here again. In dark gray areas, this is where the network is populated to the max already. So that means if you would be putting up a station here in the center of Munich, you'd hardly get any additional rewards and you'd bring down other people's rewards if you did so. And you see that here. So you would still get 5% of the rewards, but it doesn't really make much sense to put one station up. At the boundaries of that, this is where it starts to make sense. So yellowish, orangish means somewhere between, I think, 60 to 80%. And outside of that, there might be stations, but it's not overpopulated. So even a second and a third station still would earn maximum rewards. So think of it as a marker that is being put on each space on the map, and then we make this heat map out of it. And I think that's a super useful tool for those people who want to figure out, does it make sense to put a station here or there without having to put that marker again and again.
Okay, so if you can zoom out maybe a little bit, yeah, I think what we see is that there is still a lot of available space, right? It's interesting. I feel like Germany and the Netherlands and Belgium and Luxembourg are quite strongly populated, right?
That's correct, but there is holes in it. For example, if you put something here, you would still get 70-ish kind of percent. Actually, we can check with this marker by putting it here. Yes, 63. So yes, and this is a different view than the coverage map. The coverage map shows those countries covered, but that's more for the demand side. So people who want to make use of the service, who want to buy the data that we collect in a decentralized way, they're interested in where do you have at least one station. While from a miner's perspective, it's important to know where are less than 3 stations and where does it actually make sense. That's the 2 different views that we now have.
Okay, that's good. Yes. So let me go into the questions that were asked or into the comments that were asked. Yes, Daniel is in an office, so there is other people. I hope it's not too distracting, but actually, from my perspective, at least, it's fine. And to be honest, I personally don't know the GNSS cluster a little bit. Like somebody mentioned that it's similar to the GNSS cluster. I personally don't know that, but regardless of that, I think it just makes sense, right? Because as a supplier, as a miner, you want to know where does it actually make sense to install a station, right? Or where does it, where can I actually have the best rewards, and this map gives you, well, the opportunity in a very, very easy way. And Tommy just mentioned to me that the purpose is similar to the cluster map, but it's a different implementation. So yeah, does make sense. Daniel, anything you want to mention?
Yes, I mean, we intentionally choose not to have hex setups, because a hex, you can be 50 meters left or right of the boundary of a hex, and that makes a difference, where in reality it doesn't.
Okay.
So that's why we choose a more fluent, like more heat map style realization of also in showing it, but the math in the background is also that.
Okay.
Yes, other things that I want to show, and we introduced that a while ago. I need to find a nice spot to demonstrate that. We've modified slightly the way neighbors are being accounted for. For example, if I went into Zurich, so I have a station here in the center, and if I would be putting another station, not with my account, but with somebody else's account, then we would see a number of stations that are being ignored. So we already mentioned the ones which are ignored for redundancy. This, in that example, is the two closest ones, but if you would have a relatively weak one, then we would reduce, or we would ignore those which have the best quality. So those stations in your vicinity which would have the biggest negative impact on your rewarding. So they may not always be the two closest ones. So you could see situations, you actually see it here. There's a station which is only 4 kilometers from where I currently just dropped the marker. Maybe we can show that in this way. Yes, there's two stations which are closer. They're being taken into account because there's two stations farther away, which would have a more negative impact on my rewarding if I would be putting a station up here. That's one thing. So generally, that means more rewards or more fairer distribution of rewards. And we're also bundling stations from a one user. And that means if somebody has a network of, say, 10 stations, we're only considering one of those and not all 10. Because we want the redundancy such that if a network goes down, somebody operates a network and injects the data, we consider them, when it comes to rewarding, like one station. And I think that's an important consideration. Generally, those two changes, they increase rewards in highly populated areas, in areas outside of that. So the white parts in the opportunity map, it doesn't change. I think that's one thing that we did. A bit earlier on in the course of April, we did modifications to the quality scale. And what we had, we actually fixed a few bugs that we had. And you see that in some cases, the quality scale of your station has come down a little bit, not massively, I think on average 8%. And this comes from the situation where previously we would not consider this one signal E5AB, that's a high value signal, that was not going into the accounting, and not every receiver has that. And receivers who do have that, they get an extra for that. But also on the level of the sky visibility map. Previously, we would have a relatively simple calculation where we would just count the number of satellites that you receive at a certain point in time. What we are now tracking is how many satellites out of the theoretically visible satellites at your location can you actually receive. So you see here this sky visibility map. It has two red bars. That's my station, and I have a high-rise building in the southeast of my station. So this is going to reduce my quality scale slightly because of those two. Previously, you would just count the number of satellites, which change over time. But it's not a measure of how good the sky visibility you actually have. I think that's the other change that we've done. As I said, I think this was around the 18th of April, something like that. And we rolled this out.
Okay, that's very good. I haven't been seeing any other questions come up with regards to the technical and product developments. But I think, as mentioned, or as hopefully aware, you guys can always check that out yourself on the onocoy Explorer. The link is in the Discord and also in our link tree, I think. So you should be easily able to access this yourself, check it out, check the opportunity map if you're interested in setting up a miner, and easily see what your rewards will be. And if you have it already set up, you can then obviously see your visibility map in the improved version. Anything else you want to mention, Daniel?
We've done a few changes also on the client side, so for the customers who consume the data. I don't think we need to go into many details, but since we start seeing usage picking up, we also had feedback from customers, features that they'd like to see, and we've implemented some of the algorithms. For example, when we automatically choose a station, what is the methods in which we choose those? And there's various smaller changes.
Yeah,
but I think for that community here, I think it's more the mining side, the reward side, which is of high interest, and not so much the demand side. But happy to talk about that in a coming AMA if that is of high interest.
All right, perfect. Then, Daniel, you are free from my perspective to jump out anytime, because I know that you have a follow-up meeting basically scheduled directly afterwards. So
yes. All right. All right. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you very
much.
Guys.
Bye-bye.
And then maybe, Tommy, if I can ask you a question that was just asked now as Daniel left. There was a question in the chat. How does onocoy stand out from GeoNet? Why choose onocoy? I think that's mostly related to the product and tech part that Daniel was just mentioning. So I would have loved to ask him, but probably you are as well capable to give a short excursus on that topic as well, right?
Yes. There are fundamental differences between GeoNet and onocoy. On the first glance, you don't see this per se, but it's actually, on a commercial point, very relevant. GeoNet is more of a vertically integrated supplier. They lock the hardware, so only very specific, typically GeoNet hardware, can be hooked up to the network. And they're also offering added value services to the clientele.
Yeah.
So it's the traditional setup you would see in the GNSS industry. Now, that's a valid proposition because the current industry works like that. It comes with pros and cons. We have intentionally chosen a different setup. We're like a horizontal player in that market. So we're not controlling the hardware. We're open standard. So any existing or newly deployed hardware matching the standard, which by definition is pretty much everything, can be hooked up to onocoy, and we assess the quality of these streams and then pay rewards. So we're not forcing you to buy a onocoy hardware. You can go to one of our partners or use your existing hardware and hook it up. So that's a fundamental difference. That also means that you can use your hardware for different purposes. So you're really not locked. That's important. That helps us in scaling, because if we need to address a new market, and I come to that afterwards, then we can have the existing base tapped into pretty fast and then densify the network with the crowd, the typical miner. So that's the one thing. On the other hand, by not adding or offering added value services, we're staying out of the business of our customers. This is very important because we, knowing the market from the various angles, we believe, and we do have proof points in that the existing correction service providers do have a problem in sourcing data. If they only have to do this on their own, they don't get global coverage and their costs are excessive. A, because they're using only few but expensive receivers, and B, because they can only amortize the high investments over a small usage. By us as a horizontal product, we can solve a problem for that. That means we can sell to pretty much every correction service provider, and we do really have success in this. So we can sell to many more people, and they sell then added value services to end customers.
Yeah.
They have built out sales channels. Some of them go automotive, others go agriculture. So we don't have to build out sales channels for each of the vertical. Sure, if you're a farmer, you can still hook up to onocoy, and that's also valid, but this is not our focus. And I think that's very different. Yes, building an open ecosystem like onocoy, we call it sometimes the onosphere, that takes time.
Yeah.
But once you have this, it's really powerful. I compare it a bit to a closed ecosystem like RIM in the old days.
Mhm.
Rock solid, all good. But then came Android, and it spread and flooded the world because many other companies also pulled forward and did marketing and pulled it out. And that's a bit the advantage of our approach. But having said that, it's a different approach to the market. There's room for both potentially. And yeah, for us, it's we don't consider this as competition per se. It's really a different approach, and there's room for both.
Okay.
Hope that answers it.
Yeah, I think so. It does. Let me ask you another question before we move on. And I think I can actually show this. You should be able to see this, right? Question was, are you able to explain what GNSS triangulation software are you using, such as Bernice GNSS software or something else, such to be transparent?
All right, I'm not the GNSS expert on the very R&D level, but I don't think we're using Bernice software. But I would have to let Daniel answer that question. So
okay,
I don't want to go into speculation.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Jill, who you were the one who asked the question. If you are in our Discord, do me a favor and ask it there. We have the new channel, Ask Onocoy, which I will explain a bit later, but we have that new channel. So feel free to drop it directly in there. And yeah, we will try to get an answer for you as soon as possible. Then Tommy, then I'd say we move on and we start initially with the supply chain and regional expansion topic, where you have some news on how we plan our regional expansion and what news and updates we have on supply chain and regional expansion.
Yes, I mentioned before, we're making good progress. We signed commercial contracts with correction service providers. They're staged, and that's the positive thing. So they will use more and more data from us as we grow our network. And one of the focuses, the early focuses, are Southeast Asia. And honestly, it's actually more East and Southeast Asia. So particular interest is around Japan, Malaysia, South Korea, but also Thailand, Singapore. There was one more.
Taiwan?
Taiwan, yes, indeed.
Yeah.
We do have coverage there, so we're immediately selling. But given this customer demand and the contract we have with them, that whatever we bring on, they will use for a very attractive end market. We do put now an emphasis on growing the supply in these countries.
Yeah.
We're working on concepts on bringing on existing stations, and we're preparing a campaign for the Web3 community to deploy stations in this area. Obviously, we need to incentivize the early movers in this area and really to cover this area. So there is more to come. And if you're either in this area or if you have connections into this area, that might actually be something very, very interesting. So we're not talking many months here. That's around the corner. So we're finalizing the concept, the campaign, and then we'll shoot. And we hope that we have a lot of supporters of the Web3 community deploying there. And just to go, yes, the end customer does currently not look into India, but knowing what the company, their end customer is, I would presume there will be demand in India sooner or later as well from them. So,
okay.
But in phase 1, it's not India. So that's the one thing that's around the corner. Having said, we do see good success in this correction service providers. That proves the point that we're onto something hot. We do have also people with an interest, other correction service providers with a strong interest more in Western Europe, various countries here. So we'll also set probably sooner or later local incentives in these countries. So it's really exciting times. The demand's picking up, and we have many more correction service providers testing our data, and it's really a hard test. It's fun. Daniel implied it a little bit, but it's a stress test to our software. And yes, we do have some hiccups, but essentially it works, and we're improving it, and it's really exciting.
Nice.
What I also like to add is that we ran a program. It was a test program in Romania, where we put local high-value areas. So we defined specific areas and gave extra rewards to people deploying there. And the concept generally works. It's not automated yet. That's now one of the next tasks, to automate that such that we can scale out of the experimental zone to a global system.
Yeah. Okay. Understood. I haven't seen any questions on that so far. Anything else on the supply chain regional expansion part you want to mention?
Yeah, maybe we're preparing also for a referral system that miners bringing on their peers benefit from a referral, and probably also the people they bring on. It's a clear advantage, because our miners, they understand how it works. They're loyal, call it ambassadors if you want, and yes, spreading the word. This is what we want to honor. It's a way for us to grow faster, so it's a mutual benefit, and we are preparing a system for that. Yeah. And we need to automate that because we do have many miners, so we cannot handle each one manually, but that's also in the planning.
Okay. All right. Then I would say we move on to the topic where I already saw most of the questions. And guys, I didn't only put this in now because I don't want to talk about it, but because I know that there is a lot of questions that came up to it, right? So I on purpose put it at that point in time, and we're talking about mainnet/TGE launch. Maybe before we go into the different questions, Tommy, can you maybe just give a current status update? Where does it stand? What has been moving forward? What's the current status on the things that you can talk about?
Sure, happy to do so. So there is quite extensive work going into this. I think I'm not sure if we implied or said it, but we were planning for around the middle of the year. So our working assumption is the beginning of July. Now, it will not be before July. I think that's a first statement, but we want to be as early as possible, assuming everything goes as planned. I don't see major obstacles ahead, but yes, it's work in progress, so it's a project, so you never know, but right now there is nothing visible. So we're aiming for early July. The biggest purpose for onocoy in preparing for the token launch is that we want to get the DePIN flywheel in motion. So essentially, you guys, miners, and I assume mostly miners are on this call here, Miners need to be able to trade with the tokens to calculate an ROI. And it's clear that we also want to honor the efforts and the risk taken by the early miners. So we need to convert the Bono tokens or Bono Beta Ono tokens into Ono. And we need to make sure that from the demand side, we have enough demand to create a buy pressure for the Ono token. So that's essentially the goals we're pursuing. So it's not about hyping or anything. We're an infrastructure project, so we really need this deep in flywheel going. So what is being done in the background? We obviously need to adapt the smart contracts for Ono, this transition. So that needs changes there, not fundamental changes. We're preparing a tool to convert the Bono tokens into Ono tokens. And here I would like to give a few extra words. We had two hypotheses at the beginning. We could just have done a airdrop and that's it. But we do not think that's necessarily leading to a stable tokenomics after TGE. And B, we're also thinking that it's not necessarily honoring the risk taken by the Bono holders. So what we will do is we'll have a tool where a Bono holder can convert his Bonos into Ono at the time he wants after TG. So it's obviously not doable before for technical and logical reasons, but anytime afterwards. And the longer they wait, the higher the conversion rate. Mm-hmm. So it's an incentivation to hold on with the conversion because the payout will be higher. Yeah. But we're not locking anybody in. So it's at the miners or the Bono holder's discretion to choose the moment he wants to convert. And the assumption is that we're even offering partial conversion. So say Dominic has, I don't know, 1,000 Bonos and he wants to buy another miner. So he converts some of these Bonos on day 5 after TG and holds on to the other, whatever, 60% for a longer time because he likes the higher payout. So that's the tool we're creating. And it's clear there are two motivations. A more stable tokenomics, because we're a B2B project. So yes, we do have good progress on the sales demand side, but the longer we wait, the stronger the buy pressure for the token gets. That's in the nature of B2B business. And at the same time, we can combine this with extra rewards for our early miners. So it really makes sense to start mining before the TGE, because there might be an extra payout for that. So that's essentially the Bono to Ono token feature, which we are also currently implementing. We're also working on the legal compliance side. The white paper is being updated. It's a minor update, but it needs some formal updates. And then we get the lawyer's confirmation that we qualify as a utility token according to Swiss law, which is again important because otherwise we would have to go through a AML nightmare, which is a nightmare for you guys and for us. So by qualifying as a utility token, we can escape that. So that's an important thing that's ongoing. And then we do obviously work on communicating the value. So we are revamping our website. You don't need to complain. We know it ourselves. It's a bit outdated. It's been it's not well structured. So we're fixing this in May. it needs to be clear that for each stakeholder, we address them and we explain what we do. So that's ongoing work. We're also explaining the project much better because, and that's also an important aspect, we do want the community we want to offer the community the possibility to participate in the token launch prior to the TGE. In other words, we are preparing a community sale, not a massive one, but at least a community sale, either through 2 launch pads, which we're signing up right now, or directly by whitelisting it through onocoy. So both is in preparation. That takes some effort. And I think you all know that also needs quite some marketing effort. So that's all being done right now. I do anticipate, and take it for what it is. I do anticipate, I don't promise, but I anticipate that we do this community sale towards the beginning first half of June.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's going on. So yes, we're working on it. It's needless to say a bit more work than we thought, but we still believe we can hold on or to our promise of around the middle of the year.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much for the overview. I hope that already answered some of the questions, but let's go through them more or less one-on-one. The first question I think that was asked with regards to the TGE was by Cruncher. Let me share it here. For TGE, all of our tokens going into our wallet at once, or will they be portioned to our wallet over a period of time? So just briefly touching base on what you already said with the Bono to Ono tool, as far as I understood it, it means that miners can basically decide for themselves on when and how much they would pay out, so to say, to their wallet. Now, I think this question touches on another angle, which would be a vesting/lockup period. So meaning that the tokens as a miner that you earned would be locked up for a certain period of time or vested or something. Is there anything like that planned for TGE, or could you theoretically as a miner get your tokens straight away, all of them, right at that point in time?
So the short answer is you can get all of them on day one if you want. There is no locking and vesting. And that's obviously different to team and other investors. But miners are not undergoing any locking vesting. For miners, we reverse the concept. Rather than preventing you from doing something, we encourage you to hold on to the Bono through extra rewards.
Okay.
So it's a motivational rather than a punishing system.
Yeah. So to get that straight, to hold on to the Bono, right? So,
yes.
Okay. All right.
Understood. Because right now, until TGE, you're earning bonus.
Yeah.
And for all those bonus earned, there is this motivational system or incentive system to hold on for some time.
Mm-hmm.
For the owners afterwards, you get them without locking and vesting.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's helpful. I hope that was answering the question. Now, on to the next one, which is, to be honest, multiple questions, and I cannot share them all at once, I think. At least let me try. No, I can't. It doesn't work like that. So it's several questions put into one. I think it was already asked in the Discord before, and I think also I forwarded it to you, Tommy, up front, so you might be aware of it. So there was a question with regards to the Ono token stability.
Mm-hmm.
And it was about, let me open up the next one on that. About 1 million bonos are going to be mined, and people likely want to exchange them to fiat at day one. Not sure how to interpret figure 13 in the white paper, but is inflow investors, and then it continues, money, and is it initially used to pay out miners till sales $1 million USD ramps up? and is price stabilized with Ono token valuation provided by Oracle. I can tag you also in the Discord. Maybe that helps to see the full question in there, Tommy.
Yeah, can do, but I think there are a few
aspects.
Yeah, there are a few aspects here. The first one is the price stability of our token. Well, obviously, this is a big consideration. It's what is not a good proposition is to use much of investors' money to buy back tokens. Investors don't like this so much, but it's also not sustainable. So we do see sales traction, and out of this, we have a buyback program so we use the revenues to buy back tokens, partially burn them, and partially feed them into the reward pool. So this is where some of the demand comes. There might be retail investor, post-launch investors that also create buying pressure or on the token. So that's on the buying pressure side. On the sell pressure side, on the token, I mean, there are multiple aspects again here on how we stabilize this. The first and probably most important one is that we incentivize people not to dump all their tokens on day one through this reward function, which we are still in the process of fine-tuning what curve we have to have. But it's clear that if you only get 1% over a year, that would not be an incentivation. So it needs to be a stronger incentivation. That's evident. So that will reduce some of the pressure. We know for certain that some of the larger scale miners do actually believe in the future of the project and do not intend. So it's not the full amount of tokens available immediately. So that's on the one thing.
That's the institutional miners, basically, right?
It's partially institutional, larger, but it's also people out of the Web3 space having multiple devices, many devices, and therefore are important recipients of tokens. They understand how this works, and if they dump everything on day one, they basically kill their prior investment into the hardware. So they do understand that. Then furthermore, the token is fundamentally designed, and we have proven this also through scientific papers, that it's meant to appreciate in value. Now, what we have to do is we have to illustrate that we do really deliver on that. I mean, everything hinges on the demand side. Yes, we know that it's B2B. We all know that B2B is not a step function. You cannot just do a bit of advertising and you sell more like in Coca-Cola. It's an effort. But we do see good track. So we need to bring across this message, and we work on that we can show names, etc., on traction. That essentially makes people believe that holding on to the token allows them to benefit from the value accrual. And that's the normal value accrual before the Bono to Ono conversion. So there are a number of things we can do, but I mean, let's face it, if Bitcoin tanks, then the entire market goes south, at least to some extent. That's beyond our control.
Yeah.
We do what we can. We're fully aware of this. If there are more things we can do, we will do. But there's only so much, right?
Okay. Maybe Stefan, if you could reply either in the comments or also on Discord on whether that kind of answered your question, that would be nice. I think also Stefan, you also asked that. I'm not sure if you're in the live chat, but at least on Discord I can see that. So yeah, maybe if you guys can reply and let us know if there's more topics, and obviously we're happy also to get into that alignment on the Discord server. Then, to be honest, there was only one more question that I can see in here, which is very simple: DEX or sex launch?
DEX.
All right, that's pretty easy. DEX launch.
Easy.
It is. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I kind of agree. I think DEX launch, if it's possible, it makes a lot of sense right now in the current market. Sex launches in the last year, I would say, have proven to not, or in many cases have not been as beneficial for some tokens as that used to be in the past, but that's a different discussion. So a DEX launch it is. Then if there is no, because I hope I didn't oversee any question, but I think that should be the questions with regards to TGE. If you have any other one, feel free to obviously drop it in the comments so we can still continue to ask that. Adeline, I saw your question, but I would continue now initially with the part that I'm going to talk about today, which is well, it's new that I be talking about something and not just ask questions, but Tommy will probably enjoy that. Right, so I wanted to talk about the community and the Discord revamp, specifically the Discord revamp. Now, over the last couple of weeks, it's something that has already been on our roadmap before, that we wanted to adjust and revamp the Discord server, because there were some channels and also some roles that weren't really that necessary, and we wanted to make it a bit more clean and also prepare, obviously, for TGE, put in more potential channels so we can actually have the conversations in the way that we want to have them and that you also want to have them. So specifically saying that you want to have them. So the process that we did is where we said, okay, everybody can basically provide us with their input or their ideas or suggestions on what you guys would like to see being implemented in the Discord. So we asked you basically on Twitter and on Discord as well to provide us with your feedback on which channels or what type of formats you would like to see. And not only formats, but on the Discord channel, but also on events that we would do, right? Now, this we took and we created a short list out of that. So we aligned internally in the team and said, okay, from these suggestions that we received, what would we agree on as a team generally? And we created a short list, which I think we didn't really kick out anything, if I'm not wrong. I think we really took over all the suggestions basically, because they kind of repeated also partially, right? And we added our own thoughts, what would be reasonable, and then we put it to a voting again in the Discord server. And voting concluded, and I think it was pretty clear. And by now, the Discord server has been adjusted. So if you have not been in there so far, make sure to join it. We have a new structure. So very briefly, to just give you a short overview, we have the overall community channels, which is the general chat, right? This is like a typical format. You can basically talk about anything in there, right? It's not limited to a certain topic. It's just a general chat. Then we have the Ono talk, which probably a lot of you won't be able to see right now, because the Ono is a role that is only given so far to a few people. Now, the idea with the Ono role will still be worked out a bit more detail, but basically what we want to do is that we want to make sure that people who have been part of the community for longer, or who are minors, for example, will be able to get that Ono role and then have their own specific channel where they can have a conversation with people where it's clear that they have been part of onocoy for a longer time, or they are minors, right? So a bit more of a deeper dive, so to say. We have the minors and tech channel, which is, as the name mentions, about all the technical related questions. Community content, where if you created something on Twitter or a YouTube video, as just Raptor Mining posted actually just a couple hours ago, or also a picture of your station, how it's installed and everything, put that in there. If you have a meme, if you have something you created like an image or a blog post or whatever, put it in there. And if possible, also put it in there with, for example, your Twitter link or something, so we can repost it and can create content from that. That's the part of that. Then we have the feedback and help section, which is just for channels overall. It's Ask Onocoy and suggestions. Ask Onocoy is pretty self-explanatory. If you have a question related to TGE or something, like a bigger topic that you want to make sure it doesn't get lost in the channel, just put it in there. And suggestions is if you have ideas on how we can improve things, then you can add it in there. Then we have the tickets, where if you are a miner and you have an issue, if you are a client and you have an issue, or any other thing like a business development opportunity or something, you can open up a ticket and the ticket team will get back to you. Then we have a new section called Partners and Collabs. We have the Partner Announcements channel, in which our partners that are in the Discord, and they have the role. They can basically share information on time-limited deals or something in there, or any big update coming from themselves, right? So as a potential miner, if you're interested, it's definitely worth checking out that channel. And we have the deployment opportunities, where if somebody wants to share an opportunity where something should be deployed, then this is it, the channel. Then what we did is, with regards to the international, so the language channels, we put it now in a way where you can choose your language yourself when you join the server. You can basically also do that if you're already in the server. So you just click on channels and roles on the top right, top left corner, and then you can choose your language role, and you will have access to these channels. Now, there's one more thing. So that's the new structure. Feel free to check it yourself, and if you feel like we are missing something or something is too much, make a suggestion in the new channel. Because that's where it's supposed to be put into. And then there's another thing, because we want to increase the cadence of different events. So, for example, one thing that we are heavily thinking about is to do these AMAs on a bi-weekly basis instead of a monthly basis. Which we still have to finalize if we actually want to do that and when we want to start that, but it could very well be that already the next time you see us in 2 weeks. And the other thing is that we want to include some different events on a weekly basis. So it could be just coffee breakout sessions or something where, at a time during the week, someone from the team is just in the voice chat channel, and you can just jump in there, ask any question, or talk about, I don't know, whatever you want to talk about. The other idea would be that we do some more Web3 or Deepin related sessions in there. So we're still kind of deciding on what we really want to do and what we think is interesting. So again, if you have any suggestions or something, feel free to make the suggestion and let us know what you would like to see in there. But certainly we will start that very soon, and hopefully can create a bit more of a personal feel to how the server is run at the moment or generally. Now, that would be it from my side. I see that we had 3 more questions, I think, that came in the meantime. So I would just jump into those right now. So there was a question, Tommy, I'm not sure if you can answer that or if we would have to get back to that later. Are you planning?
I can answer that. The answer is yes, we do plan that.
Okay, that's
yes. I don't think it's fully implemented yet, but I think even our front end uses these APIs. So yes, it's certainly planned. I don't think it's fully available or documented yet, but yes, the question is yes.
Okay, all right. Then there was another question by Job, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. How much will the burn be per month? And there is also the question on TGE should be with burn also. Is there something you can say about that, Tommy?
Well, the tokenomics works in a buyback and burn mode.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is that we use a certain percentage of the revenues to buy back, of which then a certain percentage is burned.
Mm-hmm.
So we have not frozen the percentages yet.
Yeah.
But it's as a working assumption, we could, for instance, assume that 20% of the revenues go into the burn, the majority go into the reward pool for the miners, and a smaller percentage also goes into financing operations. But that's preliminary working assumption. That's maybe more my view on the exact percentages. Fact is, it's going to be a percentage of revenue, and that means it's going to fluctuate to some extent. So it's not X thousands of whatever dollars, euros per month fixed. It depends on the sales revenues.
Okay. Then, to be honest, I think we're through. I think we don't have any questions left, at least not that I would know. And we are pretty much exactly on time at 5:30 CET, which is exactly 1 hour, which is kind of the target that we want to hit for the AMA and monthly recap session. So I wouldn't stretch it longer than necessary, but only say thank you very much for participating, to you, Tommy, and for answering all the questions. And obviously, most obviously, thank you very much for everybody who has been here and for asking your questions, for contributing to onocoy. Stay tuned. Make sure to join the Discord and let us know what you would like to see from us, what you would like to hear. Join the discussion. And if you haven't yet done that, become a miner, obviously, in the meantime. Without further ado, I would say thank you very much and have a very nice evening or day or rest of the night or wherever you are in the world.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in.